actually had an interview go pretty viral with Dylan Gabriel.
Oh, God.
Let's just make arenas. Let's make domes. Let's do grass. Let's do more fireworks at games. Yeah.
I saw that interview. Hey, I know her.
That's going viral in the middle of the Rose Bowl. Because everyone was like, oh, this guy's high as a kite. I had to like tweet out and be like, Dylan is not high. And then like, everyone's like making fun of you for tweeting that. And you're like, well, I can't win,
Yeah.
I just got back from the College World Series. I didn't have a photographer there the entire time. About a guy behind home plate at the Oregon State baseball game who was stacking cans and got in trouble from the NCAA. The can dam.
You're on camera and then you're also like producing segments, like editing segments as well. Like having you just have to have a whole collection of skill sets to do this, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like you have to know how to do everyone's job.
Brenna, I would like to start off with a very, very important question. Okay. Hard-hitting.
Oh boy.
Hard-hitting journalism, as you know. In your Twitter bio, you have, among other things, you are the little girl from Remember the Titans, all grown up. Cheryl Yost, great character from the movie. My question to you, what is the best sports movie or football movie? Is it Remember the Titans? What do we got?
Yes, that's like literally our childhood. That one can't be beat. I mean, Denzel Washington, it's everything. It's everything. So yeah, no debate there.
Okay, good. All right, that was good. All right, I'm glad we're on the same page there. I always get appalled when I talk to people who, one, haven't seen Remember the Titans, or two, like, yeah, no, it was a pretty good movie. It's like that movie shaped our childhood for us millennials.
Yeah.
Can you believe that we're actually 15 years from our high school graduation? Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. Also hilarious that I can't help but laugh at this. I don't know if you got blasted the email from Jesuit this year that was like, help out with your high school reunion.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happening.
Yeah. No, we always get those emails. Yeah. I'm like still in shock.
Like I'm like, yeah, because I texted somebody who did respond to that email and said that they would help, and they were like, yeah, I haven't heard anything since, so I don't think our reunion's happening. I'm like, yep, that checks out. All right.
Maybe 25, maybe in 10 more years. That'll be even scarier. Okay, Brenna, can you give me just a little bit of your background?
Yeah.
Where you are now and how you got to where you are now.
Oh gosh.
In the sports journalism world.
Yes. So I mean, let's see. After I graduated from Jesuit, in which I was nominated most likely to come back and teach at our high school. That is in the yearbook.
Was that what you got? That was your superlative?
That is what I got. And I have a really actually like you know what? I will start here because I've told this story before because it was like I look back on it now in a very motivating moment for me. Names will not be named.
Okay.
But someone who was a very well-known athlete at our school. I remember it very clearly. We were voting on superlatives for the yearbook, and I was walking to my third period class, which was my campus ministry aid class, aka being a sacristan. For those who may not be aware, basically I helped out with a lot of the masses at our high school my senior year. And I'm walking down the hallway, and said person yells down the hallway, doesn't even say my name, just yells, "You!" And I'm like, okay. And I was like, who? I had my back. I didn't even, I didn't even see this person. And I was like, I wonder who they're yelling at. And I turn around and direct eye contact. And I'm like, oh God. And they go, and this is not someone like, I mean, we knew each other, but like, I would not qualify us as like close friends by any means. And you're most likely to come back to Jesuit and teach.
Oh,
and he's literally walking to the class period where they are going to vote because everybody I think voted in their science classes.
Yeah.
And he was walking to his class. And so at that point, like I knew what I wanted to major in, but I don't know if it was necessarily something people knew, like I wouldn't expect that. But anyways, I remember that happening and thinking to myself, no shade on anybody who wants to teach, by the way, an incredible career, like just not something that I wanted to do at that time. And I was like, That is not happening. And it was just like this, like, very, like, crystalline clear moment of motivation of
Yep.
being like, "No, like, this is what I wanna do, and this is what I am going to do."
Well, see, sometimes these moments are what takes us. Give me, Brenna, you don't have to say that. Give me a clue. Male or female athlete?
Male. You think
Uh,
a girl would do that?
yeah, you're right. This is also like what year? This is 2000. When were we graduating? 2010.
10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Football player?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you off the
Yeah, you
cuff
can
here.
ask me offline.
I'll
And
ask
I
you
don't by
offline
the
who
way,
this. I'm
this
gonna ask
person
you.
probably I've told this story to people where
Okay.
I'm sure that this has gotten back to this person at this point, and I have no problem with said individual.
Sure.
Like, no problem at all. I just don't wanna out him
Yeah.
publicly.
Okay. You can
Like,
out him privately to me after because I
yes,
am
yes.
wildly curious.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, yeah, I like I said, I don't have any, like, ill will whatsoever. In fact, the only thing I have towards this person is, like, gratitude because it
Yeah.
was a very, like, clear moment for me where I just, and I mean, I just kept walking to my 3rd period class. I didn't say anything, like, I just kept going. But, so yeah, so after that, I went to Gonzaga for 4 years, not exactly known as a journalism powerhouse, but we're
Right.
small and mighty.
Yeah.
Um, and out of college, I originally did not have a job. I was still living in my house at college because why would I return home when I still have a lease through the end of the month? Thank you.
There you go.
And it was the Friday. I was like probably like 8 days away from moving out, I'd say.
Okay.
And I was at my job on campus, which I could still work after I graduated, which
Yep.
was sick. And so I was there and I got a call because I was on this like sports broadcast. It's called Sports Talent Agency of America. And they like basically list a bunch of reels and stuff. And I had my stuff on there and I knew the guy who owned the website.
Yeah.
And he called me and he said, "Hey, there's a news director in Great Falls, Montana who wants to talk to you. Can you talk to him today?" And I was
Whoa.
like, "What?" Because I'd seen the job opening, but I thought there was no way it was still open because it was posted in, like, January or February.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, later that day, I got on the phone, like, 3 o'clock on a Friday, got on the phone with him, chatted with him for about half an hour. He said, "I'm gonna think about it over the weekend, but, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna hire you." And I was like, "Okay." So, on Monday, I got the call that they wanna hire me. Friday or Saturday, I moved over to Great Falls. Wednesday, I started, and then the person that I was replacing and the sports director who had so the sports director position had left for a while, and they were
Okay.
bringing somebody new in. But, I was replacing the weekend anchor who'd basically been holding it down for, like, a few months. Her last day was, like, Sunday, I think, and then they were like, "All right, Brenna, the sports director doesn't get here for another 2 weeks, so here's your sports department, go."
Oh, and what are you, 22,
22.
23 years old, right?
22 in Great Falls, Montana. No, I knew one person in town from college and I barely knew that person. Like I never even like hung out with him over that time period. And yeah, it was just like a totally new experience. So yeah, I lived in Montana for 2 years. And then from there, I went to Reno for 2 years. And then from there, I went back to Spokane, was a sports director in Spokane for
Okay.
3.5 years. I was the weekend anchor for the first 6 months, but when I got brought in there, it was kind of clear that the plan was because the news director or the sports director there was probably going to leave because he was dating somebody in San Diego
Yeah.
and is now married and they have kids, and so correct decision on his part.
Sure.
And when I went there on my interview, they were like, so they're like driving me to the airport, and the news director goes, "So, if the sports director leaves, how do you feel about being the sports director?" And I was like, "All right, okay, I think I'm getting hired." So
You're getting thrown into it at a young
yeah,
age.
yeah. So I was like 20. I technically was 27 when I
Yeah.
accepted that job. I turned 28 that month. And then yeah, was there for overall 4 years, 3.5 years as sports director, and then took the job down here about 3 years ago. So yeah, I like to say I'm on the West Coast tour.
You are on the
Um,
West Coast tour, a little bit of Rocky Mountains as well. Okay, down in Nevada. Uh,
yeah.
Okay, Brent, I've got a lot of questions from all this.
Yeah.
Can you, for people who don't understand kind of the
Yeah.
layout of like a news department and like what
Yeah.
the jobs are and kind of
Yeah.
sports director
Yep.
or anchor, weekend anchor, can you lay that out a little bit for us?
Yeah. So I know that I'm talking in my own language here. So yeah, basically most sports departments and things are different and change and morph, so you
Yeah.
can't not every especially in today's day and age, there's a lot of sports departments now that are going to one person, which is
Yeah.
really, really difficult.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, and I've done it before multiple times. I mean, when I was in Spokane, I had my weekend anchor leave. Let's see. When I was sports director the first time around, I did not get a weekend anchor until like 3 months in.
Yeah.
So I was solo for 3 months when Gonzaga was, top 5 team in the country. That was when Gardner Minshew was at Washington State, so they were really good, and that
Yeah.
that was like a crazy season, like nobody saw coming for Wazoo.
Right.
And then, Eastern Washington football made the FCS championship game that year.
So you were busy
I was
by
yeah,
yourself.
just a little bit. And so yeah, so I was grinding. And then the second time my sports anchor left was when it was August 2021.
Right.
Yeah. And shortly thereafter was when Jay Inslee, the governor of Washington, put in you're like, where is she going with this?
No, I'm here.
Put in put in the mandate that all state employees had to be vaccinated. Well, let me tell you, the head coach at Washington State football, that would be the top grossing employee in the state. And he
Oh.
refused to get vaccinated.
Oh, wow.
So I spent about and it was like this weird, like, how like a lot of things in sports or just in news in general, they happen,
Yeah.
right? And then you cover it.
Yeah.
Well, in this situation, there was like 6 weeks where he had to like figure it out basically. So we
Yeah.
spent 6 weeks having to cover a coach who we didn't know what he was going to do.
Right.
It was very weird, very bizarre. At the same time, Mark Few gets a DUI.
Oh,
So I'm drowning over here. Like, you know what I mean? Like things I did not get into this job to do. One,
yeah.
cover a coach's vaccination
Yeah, I was
status.
gonna say, you're here to do sports, then you get thrown into this weird mix of
It was
sports, politics, all
it was
this stuff.
wild. It was
Oh,
wild. But anyway, so yeah, so basically most sports departments have a sports director.
okay.
And then they have a weekend sports anchor.
Okay.
So obviously I've spent time doing both. I'm lucky now here in Portland. Like it's not normal to have your own sports producer. In Portland, I do. We have our sports executive producer, so he helps produce shows for us, which is amazing. And then also here I have a sports photographer, which is a dedicated like cameraman for our department. Most sports departments have a situation where you are kind of, for lack of a better word, fighting with the newsroom over photographer help for things.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
So you've got a little bit of a setup here in Portland now.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like when I was in Spokane, I was supposed to have a photographer come down with me and interview Washington State basketball's head coach. It was like probably like 3 months before I left. And they'd had like a whole situation where a ton of kids had left, like a lot of NIL stuff. And it was like this exclusive one-on-one interview that I was getting with the head coach. And I find out at like 7 a.m. and I'm supposed to drive down there at like 7:30 or 8 a.m.
Yeah.
that I no longer have a photographer.
Oh, god.
And I'm like, great. I can't wait to do this all myself at like, because
Yeah.
the interview was super, super early, super early. And I walk in by myself with all my gear. I'll never forget. The head coach at Washington State at the time is now the head coach at Stanford. He looks at me and he goes, "No photographer today?" And I
Right?
go, "Nope." And he goes, "You thinking about leaving soon?" And I'm like, "Potentially."
Ooh, you knew, you needed it. Wow, but you got it done.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
can
you
get
got it done.
anything done. I mean, I just got back from the College World Series. I didn't have a photographer there the entire time.
Well, that's what I want. I do wanna ask you about that
Yeah,
because you just got back from Omaha. How long were you in Omaha?
about a week, a little
Okay.
over. It was I'm trying to think here. It was a week. It was a week.
What
I
is
got in on Wednesday, left on Wednesday.
what is that like when you're covering such a high profile event like the College World
Mhm.
Series or March Madness, which you
Yeah.
cover as well? Like,
Yeah.
what is that experience like? I'm sure it's exhausting, but also maybe rewarding. What give me your feelings on that?
I mean, it's basically one of those things where you get in this mode during those times where it's like, you're gonna work a ton.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like have to have that mindset of wake up, work, and you're working until like X, Y, and Z time. Like
Yeah.
I got lucky this time that like one of the nights I was able to like go out and kind of enjoy. A
Yeah.
lot of times it's like you get done working and you're just like, I'm too tired to
Yeah.
go outside? Like, what are you talking about? I'm going to sleep. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of like 10, 11-hour days, a lot of content. And yeah, like I said, you just kind of have to like be in the mindset to know that like, because a lot of times people will be like, when I go on these trips for like March Madness or whatever,
Yeah.
like it'll be like, oh, that'll be so fun to go to XYZ place. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I could be in Timbuktu. It would be all the same.
Yeah.
I'm in a stadium and I'm working my booty off. Like,
Yeah.
that is what's happening here. So, um, yeah, I mean, it looks to the human eye a lot more glamorous than what it actually is. That doesn't mean I don't love it. I love it. Like, I love big event coverage. It's so much fun and it's a real like um it's a real test. It's a real test every time. And I like that. It's fun. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean, it's gotta just be absolutely exhausting, but also cool
yeah.
to be at something that has, like, such a kind of a big spotlight with the sports world. Let me ask you, what's is there any big difference, say, for example, between March Madness and then the College World Series, or is it a lot of the same kind of
Mm,
mindset?
there were some differences.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, like in March Madness, a lot of times, like, especially that first round, you're having 4 games in one day.
Yeah.
Whereas in the College World Series, it's 2 games every day, so it's way more spread out,
Okay.
way more like, uh, manageable isn't the right word, but just like, you're not as, like, overwhelmed in that
Yeah.
stadium that first day for sure.
Okay.
Um, so that was something that was different, with March Madness, like, the press conference schedule is, like, very set.
Yeah.
Where you get in and like, okay, here's the schedule for my team. If they win this day, they're going to do this day and blah, 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 blah. And you have like it all set out. Whereas with the College World Series, it's like you have one press conference before the first day of games. And then after that, it's basically up to the school what they want to do.
Okay. Alright,
And
so
so
it's a little bit more like that.
yeah, you're kind of at the mercy of the school and what they want to allow. Like, I mean, we were able to shoot practice at the College World Series this year, which like, basketball wise, like you get to shoot. They have this they have practice. This is also something there's the difference between the men's and the women's. This is,
Okay. Alright,
yeah,
that's
like
interesting.
the men you have the first day like of media stuff, you have the quote unquote practice day that you're allowed to watch practice because they open up the stadium and anybody can come in and watch practice for
Okay.
free. When I say practice, yeah, lots of quotations on that one.
Okay.
It's basically guys goofing around and shooting random shots.
Are they putting on like is it stage practice or what is it? It's just like a shoot around?
Yeah, it's basically just like a shoot around that people can watch.
Okay.
But nobody takes anything seriously. It's not actual practice because nobody
Mhm.
wants to talk about what they're actually going to do to their opponent.
Yeah, true. Okay.
Yeah. So like in that sense, you're only allowed to shoot like for the men, you're only allowed to shoot that day. So it's like that's another reason why that day in particular is psychotic
Yeah.
because you're like trying to run around and get footage for other teams as well,
Yeah.
while you're also trying to be in press conferences and locker rooms getting sound. So it's crazy. And then yeah, for the women, I kind of forgot this year, but they actually do. They let you shoot the first 10 minutes of every practice and then they kick you out.
Interesting that they have these different standards for it.
Yeah, well, they don't have open practice for the women in the women's tournament.
Okay, but they just let you be there for the first 10 minutes?
Yeah, they let you be there for the first 10 minutes, aka once again, it's just
Warm-ups?
all warm-ups.
Yeah,
It's
nothing good?
No, I mean, but that's fine. You just kind of take it, roll with it,
Yeah.
like, whatever.
What
So yeah, there's some differences.
what would you say, maybe you can't answer this because you have to maintain your journalistic objectivity. Do you have a favorite sport to cover?
Oh, yeah, no, I can definitely answer that.
Okay.
I think it's really hard for me because different times, like, if it's March, it's basketball.
Okay.
Probably outside of March, it's probably football.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so, yeah, I mean, I love basketball. I grew up playing, and so it's just one of those things every time I get to cover March Madness, and, like, this year in particular was crazy because I got to cover, I was up in Seattle covering for a bunch of different stations in my station group, and
Yeah.
then we just drove straight to Spokane, and we're in Spokane for, like, a week covering the women's side.
Back to your old stomping grounds.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, like, that was a really cool opportunity, something really fun. And then, but yeah, like, I mean, I love I like football is just I don't
It's
know.
tough to beat.
There's always a lot at stake in football. So
Yeah.
that's something that's fun.
I also feel like, I mean, not to take anything away from other sports. I don't know, for maybe I'm just hyper biased, but I do feel like there's so much story in football. There is
Yeah,
so much story in it, but I mean, just you have so many players on the team. There's so many different
exactly.
storylines that you could touch into. So I think that's pretty interesting. Uh,
Totally.
how about this? Now that you're in Portland and you're from
Mhm.
Portland,
Yeah.
okay, and you grew up what? You grew up a Blazers fan, of course,
Yeah.
and a Ducks fan. How does it feel to be covering some of your like childhood teams and
Yeah.
also maintaining like journalistic objectivity
Yeah.
when covering them?
Well, I guess, like, the nice thing in a way is that I kinda got a crash course. I mean, I'm not gonna say that I was perfect by any means,
Yeah,
but I kind of got a crash course in having to cover a team that you feel relatively close with in Spokane, having to cover Gonzaga.
true. Okay.
And, like, I think that, some people probably expected me to be, like, a super duper homer for Gonzaga.
Yes.
And that's not what I wanted to be, and I think that I did a relatively good job of maintaining my journalistic integrity to the point where I know that there were some people around the program who didn't like me at certain times. Um,
Hey, that's a good sign though. Hey,
happens,
it
yeah.
happens. It has to.
So, you know, um, yeah, it's something that I never set a goal of coming back to Portland
Okay. Oh,
because
really? It just kind of happened this way.
yeah, it did. So because I think that a lot of times in this business, if you set goals in terms of where, like, what city you want to be in,
Yeah.
that can almost in a way, like, cause problems.
Okay.
I want to be like the thing that I care about is what the job looks like. I
Yeah.
don't really care so much about where it is,
Yeah.
and what am I doing in said job? Because in like if you become just so focused on okay, so Portland for example,
Yep.
um there are I think there are now 6 full-time jobs on air here in
Okay.
sports.
Yeah.
6 out of and there's 4 stations. When I got here there was 5.
Yeah.
And it's and the when I took over the job that I took over, that was the first time any job in Portland had been open since the person who came here, and she'd been here for like 6 years.
Yeah. So it's
6
just
years
very
straight.
rare to have openings.
So it's just not something that it's like, I don't wanna yeah, I don't wanna, like, have my sights set on something like that because then
Yeah.
I could end up taking a job that doesn't necessarily fit me well, and I'm
Right.
more over, like, job than location.
Okay.
And other people have different priorities, and I get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it was kind of a unexpected, gift that I was able to come back here and, cover the Blazers and the Ducks and do that sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, I'm really thankful for it, but at the same point in time, I think that it's good that I was gone for as long as I was because it just
Yeah.
gives me a little bit more clarity on what's going on in each organization, and I wouldn't say I'm not a fan anymore, but,
Right.
like, it's not as fervent as it was when I was 17 years old, let's put it that way.
There you go. Yeah, you've had
Yeah,
some you said we were just talking about it. We're 15 years removed from our 17,
exactly.
18-year-old selves right here. What
Yes.
so not in the kind of special event sporting events with March Madness or the College World Series. What does a typical day look like
Oh,
for you?
Oh my gosh. That's, like,
Yeah.
actually really hard for me to answer.
You have a bunch of different types of days?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different types of days.
Give me your different types of days.
Yeah. I mean, there's days like today where I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna anchor the sportscast tonight.
Okay.
And, yeah, like and some days I have my producer, like I had my producer yesterday. Today I don't have my producer today. So I've got to produce everything myself, which is fine. I can do that. So, like some days it's like, okay, like this isn't gonna be as big a lift for me. And
Yeah.
other days it's like, okay, yep, gotta produce everything, gotta like edit all the video, all that sort of thing. So, the thing about sports is that you really have to know how to do everyone's job in the building.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's always so impressive to me when I know like you're on camera and then you're also like producing segments, like editing
Yeah.
segments as well. Like having
Mhm.
you just have to have a whole collection of skill sets to do this, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like you have to know how to do everyone's job.
Yeah.
Um, and that's even like that's now expanding in what we're doing because like we're starting to do stuff more like online shows and things like that on our
Yeah.
app, and so in that situation, you have to know how to, like, change, there's a thing called a technical director, and basically, like, that's the person who's in charge of, like, changing the camera shot, changing what's on
Yeah.
like, the video that's playing. Now I gotta do that too while I'm, like, doing that online show. It's like, "Okay, cue up the video that I wanna play." Bam, play it, whatever, and so, yeah, like, you really have to know how to do everyone's job. And that's one of the nice things about where I went to school because it was so small.
Yeah.
I learned how to do everything.
Yeah. True.
So yeah, I mean, so there's days where I'm anchoring, there's days where I'm reporting out in the field, and those days can be really like you just never know what the hours are going to be.
Yeah, I
Um
was gonna say, like, what when you're anchoring out or when you're reporting out in the field, I mean, you're just kind of out in the Wild West sometimes, aren't you?
yeah, I mean, and it depends on what the story is that day,
Yeah.
like there could be a situation where I need to be live. There could be a situation where I'm just going and grabbing a feature to air later
Yeah.
and it's not like as heavy of a lift. So it really, like if I'm going down to Oregon or Oregon State and covering one of those games, like what time is the game? Are we like am I going to go live in a show or am I going to be able to, shoot something and send it back and then drive back? Like, it's just
Right.
it's a job that's, very dependent upon what is happening at what time, and, for me, like, I like that it's different every day, and I also like that a lot of times I'm not, like, at a desk, you
Yeah.
know? I'm
Yeah.
out, I'm
You're
doing
out
things.
doing stuff,
Yeah.
living life out there. How do you
Mhm.
feel about going live? And also, second part of that question, were you
Mhm.
always comfortable on camera?
Ooh.
Mm.
Oh, well, I mean, you watch my reel out of college, and it's like a completely whole different person. It's like, "Ooh, who is this? Excuse
Whoa.
me?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I felt like I was comfortable back then, but and I look at it now and I'm like, you were not comfortable.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Hey,
I mean, going live is fine. Like yeah, I my favorite thing to do is sidelining. Like
okay.
I love sidelining
Yeah.
because you either do it or you don't. Like it's the ultimate test, you know? And by the way, like with sidelining, people don't really realize this, but like you normally have like maybe 3 times that you're on camera. The rest
Yeah.
of the time you're like normally off camera. So you have that first hit in the show, you better nail that hit because if
Yeah.
you don't, you're not going to get another shot. You're not gonna get another shot, and you have like we have things called reels, which is
Yeah.
like the reels are, kind of like you show people how good you are,
Yep.
and if you don't nail that first hit, well, sorry, that you kind of like in a way, like all that prep you just did, kind of a waste.
Yeah.
So like
Oh, there's a
it's
lot of pressure on
there's
that.
a lot of pressure, yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, I love going live. I love, the one and done nature of it. You either perform or you don't, and I like that test of it. Things I don't like about going live, people deciding that they want to take over my live shots. That's fun.
Oh gosh, how
Um,
annoying is that? Coming in the background, these people.
yeah,
Oh,
I mean, the last game at the game that Oregon State lost, I wasn't live,
yeah.
but I was shooting like stuff to send back to my station.
Okay.
And I'm about to start and somebody comes up to me and they're like, "Hey, you want to see like my new like Arkansas hog call or whatever?" And I'm just like, "No, what? No." And they're like, "Oh, are you not from here?" And I'm like, "No, I'm from Portland." And they're like, "Oh, like why are you here?" And I'm like, "I'm covering Oregon State." And then another guy goes, "Oh, Oregon State sucks." And I'm
Oh,
like, "Great, awesome. We're off to a rousing start." And then this guy keeps like talking to me, and finally he like starts walking away. And as he's walking away, he's like, "Don't stutter."
oh
I'm
gosh.
like, how many other jobs does somebody come in and do that to somebody
Yeah,
when
like
they're
you
about
get
to
somebody
do
comes
something?
into an office and just harasses people at their
Yeah,
desk and just
yeah.
like, "All right, now do your job." How'd you do on that one? Did you kill
I
it?
mean, well, first of all, I wasn't live, so I, like,
Okay.
literally said to the guy, I was like, "It's not live, so I can stutter if I
Yeah.
want," like, but then, like, somebody else, like, a few minutes later came up behind me and was like, "Do you need an interview?" And I'm like, "Obviously, I don't need an interview. I have a light and I'm looking at the camera, like, what do you?" You know? And then like, probably, like, a minute later, somebody else came up from behind me and, like, did, like, the tap on the shoulder thing and then, like, went the other way, you
Yeah.
know?
Classic prank.
And I was like and I finally just went, "Will people just leave me alone?" And
That's
the guy heard me say it, and he's, like, across the street, and he was like, "You must be from California." And I'm like,
yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah.
And
I can kind of relate to some of these. I mean, not
yes.
way lower stakes, but just like in making YouTube videos where I'll
Yeah.
be like
Oh,
filming
people
around a town or something with people around, and then people coming in and purposefully ruining your shot. And you're like,
yeah,
"Ah, I got to take it again. Wow, that was really, really funny of you. Thank
yeah.
you.
You
You
nailed
really
it.
nailed
Yeah,
it." You
so
were speaking of interviews, you actually had an interview go pretty viral this year
mm.
with Dylan Gabriel
Oh
of the
gosh,
Oregon. What's that?
I said, "Oh gosh." I'm like, "Well, here's the thing, like, I guess this I don't want to make this sound like arrogant by any
Yeah.
means, but I'm put in a lot of different situations, so I'm like, which one?"
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was just because this came across my Twitter feed so many different times of so many
Yes.
people, I guess, kind of stealing it and using it as their own content and
Yes, they
racking
did.
up millions and millions of impressions. But I saw that interview. Hey, I know her. How does that feel when you've got an interview or a piece of content that like gains so much traction like that?
Um, I think a lot of times in those situations, they're related to high profile events.
Yeah,
And so because like that's going viral in the middle of the Rose Bowl.
yeah,
And I'm like, I've got so many other things I have to worry about, so many other things I have to do that it's like, well, this is taking off. This is weird. Like, or like in that situation, I had to
yeah.
like, I felt the need to go online and be like, because everyone was like, oh, this guy's high as a kite,
I know that
you
everyone was
know?
saying that. I was like, what are you see? What are people seeing in this?
Yes. And it was like, guys, he's literally practicing in an hour. He's not high as a kite. It's like
Yeah,
9 a.m. He's exhausted. And I think he just like, because he knows me,
yeah,
felt comfortable kind of going on a riff. And so,
yeah.
like, the only thing I really did online with that is I had to like tweet out and be like, Dylan is not high. And then, like, everyone's like making fun of you for tweeting that. And you're like, well, I can't win, you
Yeah,
know?
it's
Um,
lose-lose always in those situations.
exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like kind of like a lot of times when those things are going viral because they're related to crazy events for
Yeah,
me. Um, it's like it feels like you're just in like a whirlwind. It's
yeah,
like, well, this is getting big. I don't have time to pay attention to this. Like,
yeah.
so
And
you
that
just
one just
kind of
went
keep
that one
going.
just went wild. What are some other ones that you thought I was referring to?
Well, I had one that went. It wasn't on Twitter, but on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
I had one. I had a story that I did recently from the College World Series that gained some traction. About a guy behind home plate at the Oregon State baseball game who was stacking cans and got in trouble from the
Oh,
NCAA,
yeah. Yeah,
which was funny.
yeah.
Great, yeah,
Lighthearted content.
yeah, the can dam.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one. There was another clip with Flage from the women's NCAA tournament. That one got a lot of traction. Um, so yeah, I just,
You
it's
gotta feel.
it just is what it is,
It is it's part of the job.
Yeah.
Is there a story, either an individual athlete or a
Mhm.
team that you've covered over your career that really like sticks with you? Or maybe there's
Yeah.
a couple of them?
Yeah, there's definitely one that stands out
Yeah.
above everyone else. So I was in Spokane during 2021, which was the season that Gonzaga made the national championship game. We don't need to talk about what happened in that
Yeah.
game. We can talk about what happened the game before if you want. So in case for anybody wondering, that's when Jalen Suggs hit that half court shot
Yep.
for Gonzaga. So I was, that year in particular, it was really difficult to figure out how to do feature stories around that team
Yeah.
because all the interviews were over, Zoom, and we were all just, trying to figure stuff out. And there was a girl, I shouldn't say girl, one of my friends
Yeah.
who was in the local media in Spokane and then was doing like Instagram live stuff for fans.
Okay.
And she asked Jalen, she said, "Do you have any pregame superstitions?" And one of them he said was that he always like does the sign of the cross and then crosses his arm with an X to honor his friend who passed away.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And so I reached out to Gonzaga, and it took 2 months to make this story happen, but it finally did. And I sat down with Jalen and talked to him about his friend who passed away.
Yeah.
And the story did pretty well. And then, and yeah, it was like a pretty emotional story. And because his friend died by suicide.
Yeah.
And so it was a real, like, I really appreciated Jalen trusting me with that story.
Yeah.
And a few months later, obviously, the NBA draft rolls around, and inside his suit jacket was a quote from that story that I did.
Oh, that is really cool.
That was probably, I'm like, well, it's not going to get any better than this. Like, I was like something I did was inside a suit jacket for NBA draft night. So,
That is awesome. Do
that was really
you
cool.
want to share the quote or not?
Oh, I don't even remember what it was now.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd have to look it up.
We can look it up later. But
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. That's got to be like a pretty rewarding part of the job.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and, now whenever I see Jalen, I haven't seen him in a few years, but 2 years ago, for whatever reason, the, opening night for the Blazers was the Magic in town,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, like, Jalen, like, ran up behind me and was like, "What's up?" Like, blah, 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 like, gave me a big hug, we took a picture and stuff, and so, like, yeah, I always just have a really, like, soft spot for that kid, but yeah, no, kid, I say,
I know. We
but
call them kids.
I can
College
call him
kids.
I can
Yeah.
call him a kid. He's still, like, probably, like, 22, 23.
That's a
Um
kid for us.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
We're in our 30s now.
It is, I know, we're old as dirt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyways, yeah, that was probably, I mean, that's
That's
it's never gonna get better than that, having a quote from a story you did in a suit jacket on NBA draft night. I mean, that's
Yeah, that's pretty damn cool. How about did you also interviewed Cam Ward when he was at Wazoo, did you?
I did,
Okay.
but I wasn't there for the seasons he was there. I was there that winter when he came there, and I did a
Okay.
one-on-one interview with him there.
Yeah.
And then I left a few months later. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
you got to have a little moment with him there. I mean, that was really
Yes.
cool to see him kind of
Oh,
his
yeah.
journey and then going to Miami and then going #1 overall. It's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, and I kinda got close with his dad just from, like, Twitter DMs, so it was
Really?
cool to watch him kind of, like, explode in the way he did. By the way, in case anybody's wondering, his favorite candy is High Chews, so
There we go. Wow, unique candy choice, I
I
will
know,
say.
that's why it's always stuck with me.
Whoa, high chews, very unique.
Yeah.
Okay. Brenna, last question. Where do you go from here? What is your
Mhm.
ultimate goal in the sports
Yeah.
journalism world?
Yeah. I mean, the pie in the sky dream is to sideline report for ESPN, like, the pie in the sky job, which, like, probably doesn't exist anymore, to be completely frank with you, with
Yeah,
how media works now, is,
yeah,
like, Tom Rinaldi. Like, because he got to tell stories, but he also got to sideline, and he
yeah.
got to be on College Game Day. And, like, that is, like, my like, if I could make any like, that is the one I'd want over anything. So, I love being able to tell stories. It's, like, my favorite thing about the job. Um, Outside of sidelining, it's probably, like, my second favorite thing. So, like, that combines kind of the 2 things. So, yeah, that's like the pie in the sky dream, is to do something like that nationally. I'm not sure if it exists anymore. But that would be what I would love to do.
Okay,
So,
we're seeing you on that trajectory, Brenna. Okay, last question, just because
yeah,
it's Sunday and the NBA Finals Game 7 is
heck
tonight.
yeah.
Oklahoma City or Indiana Pacers. And this is gonna air like probably Wednesday or Friday, so we're gonna know the result and we're gonna look smart or stupid right
We're
now.
gonna look smart or stupid. I got a zag on both team too.
Yeah.
I covered both of them. Let's see. You know what? I just can't go against OKC at home.
Yeah.
It's just a different vibe for them at home.
Yeah.
I think like they have such a home court advantage. So yeah, I'm gonna go with OKC.
I'm reluctantly with you. I was very inspired by the Pacers in Game
Yes.
6, and them playing with Tyrese and kind of man down and him injured a little bit. But I'm with you. Going back to OKC, I think that they are going to take it. So we'll see if we look smart or stupid right now in this final segment. Brenna Greene, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Great catching up, great learning, and
Yeah.
getting some of the insights about the sports journalism world. Really
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much for having me. I
Yeah,
love it.
absolutely. We'll do it again. All right. Thank you everybody for watching.